KCAA Loma Linda. Listen on 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, and 106.5 FM.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV mobile studios. That's AAMP TV. Today's show is brought to you by Legal Shield, providing legal protection and peace of mind. Legal Shield can help with traffic tickets, texting and driving, DUIs, court appearances, estate planning, even contracts given to people they don't understand, plus a whole lot more. For more information, contact Legal Shield at 213-245-1305. That's 213-245-1305. Or visit nocourt.us for more information. That's www.nocourt.us. All right, a big welcome in to everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast. Also in hotels, everybody watching us on television in 650,000 rooms and over 200 Nielsen-rated markets, basically almost every market in the country. And everybody also streaming on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. Thanks for joining us. We are here with a very special guest. In fact, let's let him introduce himself.
Really? That's special. I'm Andy Van Slyke, and played 13 years in the major leagues, 4 with the St. Louis Cardinals. That's who I started with. Went 8 years in Pittsburgh, and then played in Baltimore, and then Philadelphia. I'm a grandfather of 6 kids and a father of 4 boys. And I'm still on my first wife after 38 years, and she hasn't traded me yet. So things are good.
All right. He says he's still on his first wife. Hey, that's good stuff. You know, Andy, one time I think I ran across something that it said, you know, there's an old adage, and it says, don't buy a house because then you'll get traded.
Well, I had never heard that. Yeah, you know, I was a rookie, 22 years old. I got called up 2 weeks after I got married. My wife had graduated. We got married the weekend after she graduated from college, and got to St. Louis, was there, you know, maybe a year and a half, and had enough money to put down on a house. And I had an old timer on the team come up to me and said, you know, you shouldn't buy a house. I said, why? He said, well, because every time a baseball player buys a house, he ends up getting traded. Well, it was true, but it took about 2.5 years after I bought that house that I got traded to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, but you had 2.5 years.
Well, that's, you know, it wasn't like the next day, but it's, you know, it's just part of the game. You got to remember, there are very, very few players that get called to the big leagues and stay with the same team throughout their whole career, because, you know, there's many factors. Probably the main factor is that most careers are only 4 years or less, and it's so rare to see a guy start his career and finish his career with one team.
It is. But you know what I find interesting, and look, I'm a few years behind you, obviously, when it comes to the age thing. Thank God for that.
What do you mean? Visually obvious? What are we talking about?
Hey, listen, you look a lot better than I do. I certainly look older than you, but that's a whole nother discussion for another time, if you know what I mean. But this is the part that I find interesting. So you grew up in upstate New York, which I'm very familiar with the area that you grew up in, and I'm from a cold weather area in Chicago. And so as kids, we had a window to play outside. We had a limited time window, so to say, because when it got cold. You're not going to be out there when it's 20 below zero, et cetera. No, I mean, you're going to have to play catch indoors or whatnot. And I remember we didn't get a chance to get out and play until early March. And it was still really cold outside to a certain degree, sleeting and all kind of stuff like that. So here's a guy in yourself growing up in upstate New York. And how did you prepare yourself during the wintertime? What did you do in the wintertime? Because this is an interesting question you can ask almost anybody that grew up in cold weather. How did you handle your cold weather practice, et cetera, inside when you were maybe younger in high school?
That's a good question, and not many baseball fans who really follow the game can understand just how difficult it is for a kid to grow up. I grew up in upstate New York, Utica, New York. We averaged yearly that we were going to be in the top 5 as far as the amount of snow we were going to get in the country. So we had to deal with snow, cold country, and we would play between 16 and 18 high school games. And then in the summer, because the summers aren't long, we would play 18 to 20 games. So I was basically playing maybe 40 games my freshman, sophomore, junior, and not my senior. I got drafted my senior year, but very limited the amount of time that you spent on a baseball field. So in the winter, we didn't have the things that the kids have today. We didn't have batting cages. We didn't have, all the select teams. So I would just play basketball. That's how I got ready to play baseball. And I don't really think it set me back. I just felt that if I had enough talent baseball-wise that I didn't need to play 80 games or 100 games to get drafted like a lot of kids do today. So it wasn't really an issue. It really was an issue you didn't even think about.
Right. Well, that's always an interesting topic. People don't really talk about that. By the way, folks, big welcome in to everybody watching on a hotel television. If you're just joining us, we're here with 3-time All-Star, 5-time Gold Glover, 2-time Silver Slugger. That'd be Andy Van Slyke, Major League Baseball superstar from, wow, this guy is from the St. Louis Cardinals and also from the Pittsburgh Pirates. And there's a couple of other teams that he played with as well. But guess what? Don't go anywhere because we're going to stick around. We're going to talk more about this as we move. And so jumping in, talking about cold weather. Now, for myself in the cold weather, because I was a pitcher back in the day when I was a lot younger and, well, when I had a healthy shoulder. But for me, I didn't really throw the ball in the off season much. Andy, what I do is I ran track, right? So I ran track. I did the long jump, the triple jump, high jump, and also the quarter mile, the 400. So for me, I didn't pick a baseball up until February, till we started throwing in a gym. Did you find that you were picking a ball up and doing anything prior to maybe February?
Not really. I felt that if I was in shape, I think that's the most important thing. If you're in good shape, you got to remember at 16 years old or 17 years old, I don't think it's imperative that you take 100 swings 8 months out of the year. I just don't think it's that important. I think it's more important because as you grow and you're starting to understand your body and starting to come into your natural coordination, I think basketball is actually an asset. I think it's really, really good athletically, because you're doing so much on a basketball court. If you can play basketball at a high level and you're in shape, playing baseball becomes actually easy because there's really not the physical stress in a baseball game that there is in a basketball game. So as soon as the basketball season was over, if we didn't make the playoffs, February was about the time we started throwing indoors when the basketball season was over. And really, you can't get outside and start playing games until middle or late March anyways.
Right. Well, you know what I find exactly what you're saying, Andy, is when it comes to playing basketball, for example, you find yourself reacting, making those cat-like movements. So let's just say there's a ball coming at you. I mean, obviously, you know something about great fielding from the Gold Glove side of things. And I would imagine that your preparation, not necessarily having to snag a ball here, there, or whatever. The point is being ready on a basketball court in a very fast game. You have to be able to not only move your feet at all times, keep your feet moving and laterally quite a bit, that is, right? Not crossing your feet over because it's easy to get crossed up that way. So I would imagine basketball being very good from a fielding standpoint, but also being ready at any time. You may have a ball coming right at your shoulder that you'll have to move to the side to grab, or something at your head, or maybe a pass down low, a bounce pass. I could see the preparation. That makes a lot of sense.
You're right. But here's another thing you got to remember. Basketball is such a reaction game that you don't really have time to think in basketball. Well, in baseball, you have so much time to think about in between pitches. So you should really be ready for any ball, any situation that has hit you. You always anticipate the hard play in baseball. And if you do that, because you play basketball and you've used every muscle you can possibly use in basketball, and a lot of muscles you don't use in baseball, I think you're so prepared for a basketball season. I encourage a lot of young kids who are thinking about maybe not playing basketball to go ahead and play basketball. It's not going to hurt your baseball skills at all.
Yeah, I kind of like that. That's really good advice. When I think about it, my game was 60 foot 6 inches, right? And And I know everybody else, you're talking what, outside of a catcher, you're talking 90, 100, 300 feet. And you have a lot more time, like you said, to prepare. I never really thought of it that way. But one time I remember being stuck out in the outfield. And when your game is 60 foot and you're used to that short game, and then they stick you out in the outfield and you're 320 feet away, I was probably the very worst outfielder I've ever seen ever. For the life of me, I had no depth perception. I'm running in to catch a ball and the ball sailing over my head. I couldn't see that. And it was such a hard adjustment.
It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's the coach's fault for putting you out there.
I know, right? Well, yeah, it's a complete liability. I had no business being out there whatsoever. I mean, everything was an adventure. Even just taking fly balls. He's in the fungo circle. It's the same thing. I don't even know what I'm doing. Why am I out here in the first place? It doesn't matter. I didn't win gold gloves like you. And guess what? I certainly didn't play like you. Wow. All those years in the bigs and all that success here in our last 30 seconds, folks, we're going to come back with Andy Van Slyke, and he's going to tell us a little bit about the family, but we're also going to find out something about Constructing Futures St. Louis. Now, that's a really cool project. I want to spend some time on this because there's a lot of people that are doing some good things, but this guy's doing a lot of really good things. And I want you to pay attention, especially all you listening and watching in St. Louis, even you up on the hill over at Lou Picardi's. Those are our friends. A big round of applause for everybody at Lou Picardi's. We're going to be back here on the circus with Andy Van Slyke, All-Star Gold Glover, Silver Slugger in just a few minutes, folks. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to come.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
800-361-3491. 800-361-3491. 800-361-3491. Again, that's 800-361-3491.
AMP, the multi-format network, is here to help create, produce, distribute, and sell your content. For more information, send a message to info@aamp.tv. That's info@aamp.tv.
Are you a small business owner or pursuing the dream of starting your own company? Do you know where to start or how to grow that existing business? The American Business Trust Company has the answers you need. The American Business Trust Company can help you with startup capital, business strategy, sales and marketing, and establishing your company with a physical location or on the internet. You decide. You bring the idea, the American Business Trust Company can help with the rest. For a free evaluation, you may visit them online at abtrustco.com. That's ABTRUSTCO.com, or call them at 657-600-1876. That's the American Business Trust Company, 657-600-1876. Call them today. They can help your business right away.
Be prepared to pay more taxes. Then, if you owe back taxes or haven't filed in a few years, get ready. The IRS, the largest collection agency in the world, will be coming after you with the power to collect taxes by any means they want to. Hey, they can freeze your bank account, your passport, even padlock your business. Oh, good times. Look, if the IRS claims you owe them $5,000 or more in back taxes and they're coming after you, don't panic. Call my friends at Get a Tax Lawyer first. Their job is to negotiate with the IRS and save you money. They're experts at it. That's all they do. And you can trust them. In some cases, they have reduced a $50,000 tax bill to less than $1,000. If you owe the IRS $5,000 or more in back taxes, call now for a free consultation.
800-908-7016. 800-908-7016. 800-908-7016. That's 800-908-7016.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV mobile studio. That's AAMP TV. This segment brought to you in part by Kelly Vegas, helping people create and host their very own radio, TV, or multimedia talk show. Kelly Vegas can help with everything they need to get out of sitting in hours of traffic, going back and forth to the same old boring job, and host their very own talk show in their very own home studio. For more information, contact Kelly Vegas at 949-445-1119. That's 949-445-1119. Again, 949-445-1119. Or visit them live at kellyvegas.com. That's www.calivegas.com. All right, a big welcome back to everybody listening in from coast to coast on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from Honolulu, CBS Sports 1500 KHKA. That's home of the New York Yankees, the San Francisco 49ers, and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Also, a big welcome in to everybody on NBC over in Los Angeles and CNBC Financial, as well as Magic 97.9 FM right here in Las Vegas. Down in South Texas, that's KSIX, CBS Sports 95.1, 96.1, and 1230 AM, home of the Astros, Rockets, and Texans. Up in Faraday, Louisiana, and Natchez, Mississippi, 107.1 The River, Mid-South Broadcasting, and home of the Atlanta Braves on WAUD over in Auburn, Alabama. Thanks for joining us. Also, WDJY in Atlanta, and everybody else watching in hotels from coast to coast, also on social media. Thanks for joining us. We are back here on the circus with Andy Van Slyke, All-Star, Gold Glover. I think he's got 5 of those, one for each finger, right? And also a couple of Silver Sluggers as well, and a pretty cool guy and does some cool stuff for the community. We're going to get back into that. And Andy, welcome back to the show.
Good to be with you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. So we were talking about the cold weather prep time in the last segment. And think about when you were a kid. Now, you've got 4 sons at this point, if I'm not mistaken, right? 4 kids. All right. So when it comes to training in baseball, when you were younger, look, you didn't have indoor batting cages. You didn't have the facilities that the kids do today. What was it like when you were training versus how your kids trained?
Well, the only thing that I had, and people sometimes don't believe this story, what I did was I took an old tire. I went to a junkyard and got an old tire with no tread on it. Okay. Now, if you hit a baseball, and what I would do is I would hit the flat side of a tire. And the mistake I made is I tried a new tire for the first time with all that tread on there. It absolutely killed my hands. Oh. So I found an old tire with no tread on it, and it was it was thin. And I would hang that tire from my tree in the backyard, and I would hit the tire and hit the tire and hit the tire. And if you ever hit a tire, an old worn out tire with a baseball bat, it makes a very, very loud sound. And so what I learned was the higher pitch when I hit that tire, the better contact I was making with that tire and the more bat speed I was producing. And, I mean, it was a very, very loud process. And that's how I learned to swing the baseball bat. And the day I got drafted, my neighbor 2 houses away was an old guy, Mr. Collier, and he used to love working in his backyard. He had a barn. I lived not in the city, and he had a barn. He used to like working his barn. And the day I got drafted, he came into my house, and we had a bunch of people over. This is a couple hours after I got drafted. I was the number 1 pick for the St. Louis Cardinals, 6th pick in the draft in 1979. And he came in and he says, "I am so glad that you got drafted, so I don't have to listen to that whack anymore all summer long." I learned to hit a baseball by hitting an old worn out tire.
That's really cool. That's a great story. So let me ask you this. So while you're hitting the bat or with the bat, did you find that whether you're hitting on the sweet spot versus the end of the bat versus the handle, what was the different sound in the pitch like?
Well, you got to remember, we didn't really play with a lot of aluminum bats. Now we did, but we played with a lot of wood bats growing up. This is before aluminum bats became prevalent in amateur baseball. So there's a sweet spot on a wood bat that's about 4 inches. Well, you got about 6 inches to work with on an aluminum bat. So I always hit it with a wood bat. And what I learned was if I hit the sweet spot perfectly in that tire, the pitch would make a different sound. And if I didn't hit it properly, it would hurt it would make a lower sound. So the higher pitch, better contact, and that's really where I learned the sweet spot on a baseball bat.
That's pretty cool stuff. I like that. See what you did with that is I would sit by the railroad tracks and I would hit rocks with a wooden bat. I would destroy the wooden bat. But to me, there's no better sound in the world than the crack of a baseball bat. So hitting rocks that are not too big, but not too small, because you don't really get much opportunity, right? So you want a rock that's probably, probably about a third of the size of a baseball. So it's got some heaviness to it, but you still get that real crack of the bat sound. And so I would do a lot of that. I wasn't a very good hitter, but I did it because I love the sound of the bat hitting the ball or hitting the rock nonetheless. But hearing that, and just like what you were saying, that's why I asked you about the pitch, because you could certainly hear the difference if you hit it in the right spots.
And you could feel the difference. If you hit it off the end of that tire hurt. It would hurt your hand. It would vibrate your hands and you go, oh, I'm not going to hit that spot anymore on the baseball bat. I got to find that sweet spot. We also played a lot of wiffle ball growing up too. And I think that we had a wiffle ball league in the backyard and we played a lot of wiffle ball.
Oh, that's good stuff. By the way, folks, welcome back to everybody tuning in on Hotel Television, as well as our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates. Here with Andy Van Slyke, All-Star, Gold Glover, Silver Slugger, Cardinals, Pirates, etc. This guy, he did it all. I remember watching this guy on TV. He was a good one. And so we're talking about the feel of a bat when you hit the ball in the right spot versus the wrong spot. You know, you get that vibration if you hit it wrong. But, you know, Andy, on a cold day, like where we grew up, you grew up in New York, I grew up in Chicago, buddy, you felt it if you did not hit it right. So you learned how to hit that ball right. Did you not?
Well, you tried. I know that. I mean, there's nothing worse than hitting a cold baseball when it's 38 degrees out, the wind's blowing, and the rain's coming down sideways, and, you know, you're playing your first, 5 or 10 games in that kind of weather. You better learn to hit the sweet spot because you're not going to have any fingers left at the end of the day if you don't.
Yeah, I have to tell you this quickly. So I took a long drive around the country not too terribly long ago, and I always keep a bat with me, keep a glove with me, just because I'm stupid like that, if you know what I mean. I can't help myself. So anyway, I found this really cool spot, and I'm right along the Rocky Mountains. I'm at the base, actually, of the Sangre de Cristo Mountains in Colorado. I'm like, wow, what a glorious spot to hit a rock. So I literally pulled over. I keep a bat in the car. And what did I do? For 5 minutes, I ran the video of like, you know what? I'm going to start hitting some rocks. And the echo was incredible. You would hear 3 echoes, right? And so you're in the right spot if you can at least hear 3 echoes back. I literally stopped there for 10 minutes. I'm just hitting rocks. And people are driving by like, what the hell is this kid doing? Well, guess what? First of all, he's not a kid. Secondly, I'm listening for the sound because not only do I get 1 echo, I mean, I'm getting 3 sounds of the greatest sound for me in the whole wide world. Now that's kind of goofy, but that's kind of cool at the same time.
It is cool. You know, it makes me want to have a real pickup baseball game in the same area. Can you imagine what a baseball would sound like coming back? That would be really cool.
What a cool thing. And I just happened to do it. I even put it on social media just because it was something weird. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to stop and hit some rocks just because I can. And that's when you grow up doing that, doing different things as a kid. That's why I asked you about the training from the kids, maybe from your sons, because you've got 4 of them, right? And you've got some kids that have played some baseball at a pretty high level here. And for the training versus yourself, it's like the old Rocky IV, like, again, I must break you, Ivan Drago, right? So you're training the old Rocky way versus the tech way or the newer way. So it's kind of interesting with the way the kids have trained maybe nowadays versus maybe what people around our age did back when we were kids.
Analogy. You could say that I grew up hitting a side of beef trying to break the ribs. You know, these kids are sophisticated heavy bags today. Right.
So there you are. You know, hitting don't break the ribs, Rock. Don't break the ribs. Right. That's great stuff. So going back to the idea of hitting in cold weather and everything else, I have to mention this because nowadays, you know, we're seeing the proposal of attack baseball, right? You're seeing that. And I can tell you this on a cold day, grabbing that baseball, you know this as well as I do. You grab a baseball on a cold day, a brand new baseball, and it is super slippery.
Yes.
Super slippery. I mean, even just grabbing a brand new ball out of the box, period. It's very slippery. So in the next segment, Andy, because we're about a minute away from wrapping this one up, I want you to think about the fact that pitchers essentially are getting an extra helping hand from the league with a proposed tack baseball, something that's got all the tackiness and whatnot on it. You know, pitchers right now are also being checked as they come on and off the field, or better yet, coming off the field nonetheless. Some are losing their minds over it. But at the end of the day, you've got Major League Baseball through Rawlings essentially assisting pitchers. Now, can we say they're assisting hitters? That's another subject for maybe a little bit later on. So, folks, when we come back, we're going to continue on with Andy Van Slyke, 3-time All-Star, 5-time Gold Glover, 2-time Silver Slugger. Yes, from the Cardinals, the Pirates, and others as well. That's where the career was largely spent. So let's focus on that. This is going to be a very interesting talk, folks. So don't go anywhere. Lots more to come here on The Circus. Back in a few.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this commercial right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935, or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the...
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
800-361-3491. 800-361-3491. 800-361-3491. Again, that's 800-361-3491.
So, you want to be in show business. Do people tell you that you're really funny, you have a great personality, and you should have your own talk show? Many of us have been told that, but we don't know how to get started. It's easier than you think. Let the pros at Cali Vegas give you a free talent evaluation. Call 949-445-1119 and learn how quickly you can create, produce, and host your very own talk show. Imagine not having to sit in traffic every day, commuting back and forth to the same old boring job. Get started in television or radio today with your free talent evaluation from Cali Vegas. Call 949-445-1119 or visit them online at calivegas.com. Make your dream come true today and create your new career and learn how to become a television or radio star with the help of Cali Vegas. 949-445-1119. Call now.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV mobile studio. That's AAMP TV. It stands for All Ages Media Program, in case you're keeping score. This segment brought to you in part by the American Business Trust Company, helping companies with strategy, sales and marketing, capital resources, and establishing companies with physical locations or on the internet. For more information, contact the American Business Trust Company at 657-600-1876. That's 657-600-1876. Or check them out online for more information at abtrustco.com. That's www.abtrustco.com. All right, a big welcome back to everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast. Magic 97.9 FM right here in Las Vegas. And, of course, hotel television in 650,000 rooms as well from coast to coast. And everybody else watching us on TV, on Comcast, Cox, Spectrum, Frontier, and Wow Cable. Folks, we're everywhere. You can't get away from us. We are back here with two-time Silver Slugger, five-time Gold Glover, three-time All-Star, St. Louis Cardinals, Pittsburgh Pirates, among others. That'd be Andy Van Slyke. Andy, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Pleasure again.
Hey, listen, you're doing way better than I am with this, but I have to ask you, in the last segment, I brought up the tack baseball. What is the tack baseball for all those that don't know?
It's a good question. I don't know exactly what it is. I haven't seen one. I don't know why they're even exploring this avenue. I'm a traditionalist, in a lot of ways. His history, family tradition, baseball tradition. I love tradition, and not all traditions are great, but most of them are. And I hate to see baseball getting rid of traditions. And you got a baseball, it's round, it's made of cowhide, it's got a bunch of stitching on it. Why are we messing with the baseball? The baseball is the baseball. And the fact that they're worried about having a baseball too slippery, why is that an issue? The baseball hasn't changed, since the dead ball era. So pitchers figure out a way to grip the ball, and the fact that you're trying to change the baseball. Again, what are we going to have? A dead ball era, now a live ball era? Are we going to have a tacky baseball era versus a non-tacky baseball era? It just makes it very confusing, I think, for the fans and especially for the players.
Andy, it muddies the water, I think, from a statistical standpoint as well. So now you have Rob Manfred comes in, tinkers with the baseball in the first place. Now we suddenly have an enormous jolt in home run totals, right? You've got guys that are 5'0", 100 hitting 450-foot shots, which just doesn't happen, right? Unless something has happened with the product itself. And then, we have too much home runs, way too many home runs. Let's scale the ball back a little bit. And now you see a sharp decline. Oh, by the way, they're using the same ball in AAA too, right? So we see it at the AAA level. So it's almost like letting a kid win in a game when you know that the kid's not going to win, giving false flags to the kids and false confidence. Because take this. When you're playing maybe a game with a little kid, and sometimes they say, let the kid win. Right. Well, this is kind of what you're doing, I think, with the baseball from a pitching standpoint. Now you're adding what? You're adding some pre-manufactured tack on the ball. So it's a lot more tacky. And they're saying, well, pitchers don't have to rub stuff on it. What the hell are they doing rubbing stuff on it in the first place? Pick the ball up, rub it down like you're supposed to, and let's get on with the game. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I don't know why this is an issue. It's never been an issue before. And I think what happened was the pitchers were starting to use this invisible tacky stuff, and they were worried about too many revolutions per pitch, and guys were striking out too much. The reason why guys are striking out too much is because they're trying to hit a home run in every swing. That's why that's why guys are, striking out so much. It has nothing to do with revolutions when a pitcher throws a fastball.
What I find interesting, Andy, is back when I watched a guy like yourself on television, right? And I certainly saw plenty of your at-bats, but think about this. When I watched the guys hit from back when you were playing versus the guys from today, you had guys that were swinging the bat with a level swing, and the bat was staying in the strike zone longer, that hitting zone longer than literally uppercutting, and the bat wasn't spending as much time where it intersects. It wasn't spending as much time in the strike zone. And so now we're seeing this uppercut. tied in with a ball that's juiced up. So anybody that makes any contact, even Miguel Cabrera talked about it early in the season, that he had changed his trajectory from swinging to an uppercut versus that level swing. And so now all they know, they just have to essentially make some kind of contact. And the smallest guys, the weakest guys are hitting home runs nowadays.
They are. And the reason being is because they get paid. You got to remember, that's the reason. And there's no more embarrassment anymore about striking out. When I was coming up, even before I was coming up, for generations after generation, if you struck out 100 times in a season, it was an embarrassment. Well, guys are striking out 100 times at the All-Star break now. And the reason being, because you get paid for every number that only goes forward. My point being is, if you had 25 home runs at the All-Star break and you strike out 100 times, you might end up with 55 home runs at the end of the season and strike out 200 times. The batting average can always vary. But once you have an RBI or a home run, that's what you get paid for. And so they figure, if I hit the ball in the ballpark, I'm going to get paid more. And unless the philosophy changes from the front office, I don't blame guys for trying to hit home runs, because if they're going to pay me a lot of money to hit 200 or 220 and hit an extra 10 or 15 home runs, why not do it?
Right. So if you have this conversation with your boys from a hitting standpoint when they were younger, giving them that level swing discussion versus the uppercut, it's kind of like the softball swing versus the baseball swing.
You're right. I did. I said, you learn to hit first. I think that's the most important thing. If you learn to hit first, you can always learn to change your swing later. But if you don't learn how to hit first, you're always going to be a guy that might hit a home run every 15 times and hit 200. I'd rather have a guy hit a home run maybe every 20 times, but not strike out 100 times in a season.
Right. Well, having a few kids that have played college or pro ball, from Scott to Jared to AJ. I mean, look, you obviously trained these boys and they came up in the right environment. And I think that's great because, sometimes families will have baseball players in them. Same here. I have generations of that in my family as well, going back to the 1940s. But the fact that you take all the skills that you have and you can empty those skills, good fundamentals when it comes to playing a game, whether it's fielding, whether it's hitting, whether it's even the baseball mentality, staying focused for many, 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 many games without teetering, whether they're playing in college or professional ball. I mean, that's something that a lot of people seem to, they forget about how much discipline, Andy, it takes to go through a whole season, right? Whether it's on the college side, the pro side, I mean, even the high school side, there's a fair amount of games and the pressure. What was the message, the single message that you had for all of your sons from a professional standpoint? How do you handle the grind, the day-to-day grind? Because it's not easy, for example, going 162 every year.
Well, there were times when I would play 200 baseball games in the season if I made the playoffs, including spring training. So mentally, I think that's the physical challenge is obviously there. I mean, you're going to be tired. You're going to have injuries. Try to play through them. But I think the number one thing that I tried to do, which I think made me be able to play a full season and play all those games, was I tried to go on the field thinking, have one thought: have fun today. Have fun today. And if you have fun, whatever you're doing, you're mentally going to be there. If you're not having fun, you're not going to be there. If you're having fun in your relationship, whether it's your marriage or at work, you're going to have fun and you're going to be a productive person. But if you're not having fun, you're going to mess up more. And that's what I told my kids. When you step on that baseball field, your number one goal is to have fun doing it. And if you do that, you'll be there.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's good stuff. And so let's take this off the field now. Let's think about maybe some people have had some hard luck in their times, or they're trying to get themselves back into the swing of things, right? So let's preview this for the next segment. So you're involved with a really cool cause. And folks, you can read about it at constructingfuturesstl.org. And that is when the St. Louis market. Give us a quick preview of what that looks like. What is it that you're doing to help the masses?
Well, it's what we're doing is we're rehabbing houses, and we're taking guys that have been in prison, and they have to go through a program in prison for 60 days. It's for guys who want it, not guys who need it. And what we do is we bring them on the construction side and we give them basic skills, drywalling or, just basic construction jobs. And if they're with us for 90 days, what we do is we vet them. And if they want to stay with Constructing Futures, what we do is we have them for a year, and then we try to get them, maybe if they don't want to stick around, maybe they'll go work for Walmart or they'll go work for Home Depot. And that's really what we're trying to do, is rehab their personal lives through constructing houses.
Now that's really cool. I dig that, because you're helping people kind of get over the hump and do something, basically get them back out there and get them productive. It's like, look, we believe in you. We want you to progress, and we want the city. We want everyone to benefit. And what I dig about this, Andy, is that people along the way are all going to benefit from this, because you think about the local economy, think about the labor force, think about the fact that we're using and putting dollars right back into the local economy to fuel all those great stores, restaurants, whatever, even our friends up in St. Louis, Lou Bacardi's. We always got to mention them. Tell you what, folks, we're going to talk a little bit more about this when we come back with Andy Van Slyke. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to come.
You don't sit behind a desk every day to earn a living. You're out and about making it happen. And sometimes you get a little bit behind on your paperwork, like bookkeeping and paying your taxes. It's easy to get behind on paying your taxes. It happens to the best of us. And you know what happens next. The big bad IRS comes knocking on your door. And when that happens, you need to call the good old boys at the Tax Doctor. Let them do what they do best. Deal and negotiate with the IRS so you pay the lowest you can in back taxes that the law allows. We are a 100% U.S.-based company, and we've saved our clients millions over the years in back taxes. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, call my friends right now at the Tax Doctor and learn more.
800-989-1694. 800-989-1694. 800-989-1694. That's 800-989-1694.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
800-361-3491. 800-361-3491. 800-361-3491. Again, that's 800-361-3491.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average and best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UpperCutChops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at UpperCutChops.com.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV mobile studio. That's AAMP.TV. Make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for our upcoming guests, our prior guests, our podcast. Those recorded shows, they're full recorded shows, and they are actually aired in their entirety on Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. So you can also find us there. And of course, on any of the logos, click on our CBS or NBC News or CNBC Financial logos. Just click on that and you'll get to the recorded show page. I think there's about 1,200 of them. So sit back for a couple of months and listen to them back to back to back, and you know the rest. All right, folks. Also, make sure you check out the partners page at thesportscircus.com. And also, the College of Southern Nevada is one of our partners. Now, folks, if you don't know anything about scouting and minor league baseball and major league baseball, this is one of those places, a little 2-year school that when you go out maybe for the first game, you'll see 20, 30, 40 scouts at a time out there. And they have produced some really big names, significant names in Major League Baseball. And the cool thing is it comes out of a little 2-year college, probably the best college in the greater Las Vegas Valley on top of it, if you know what I mean. But nonetheless, great scouting there, great people coming out of there. And those have been one of the longest partners for the Sports Circus. So we always give it up for them. Nice big round of applause for the College of Southern Nevada, CSNCoyotes.com. Check them out for upcoming games and events, CSNCoyotes.com, College of Southern Nevada. Back here with Andy Van Slyke, Silver Slugger, Gold Glover, All-Star, Superstar, Pirates, Cardinals in St. Louis, doing great things with the community for St. Louis with Construction Futures, STL.org. And Andy's going to tell us a little bit more about that once again.
Well, what we do is we get these guys, most of them are young guys who really never had a future, and they screw up like we do, and they end up in prison. Really, most of these guys are nonviolent guys, and they just want a second chance. So we give them a chance to come out of prison, and we teach them basic construction skills. We keep them accountable, and what we're doing is trying to teach them life skills at the same time. And really, what we say, constructing futures, because what we want them to be productive people. And an opportunity to show us and the community that they're willing to put in maybe a year's work with us. And what we do is we vet them. And if they stick around and do the work, if they chop the wood, what we do is we let them move on to a job. Now they can stay with us, and if they want a future as a carpenter, that's great. But if that's not their deal, move on to Home Depot or some other job, what they want to do. And we don't force them to stay, but we certainly give them the opportunity to help change their lives.
I think that's great. So it's sort of like the labor or skills portion. Maybe someone comes out and maybe they're in a halfway house and you're like, you know what? Let's teach this kid some skills. Let's give him some good marketable skills for the environment that they live within, correct?
Yeah. You should see the look on some of these people's face. You give them a simple tape measure and they put it on their hip. They've got meaning maybe for the first time in their life. They've never had anything to look forward to. They've been in trouble most of their teens. They end up making a mistake. They end up in jail, whatever the case may be. And the reaction of some of these people when they get a simple hammer, it's like, hey, I can be a productive person. And that's what we're all about, is giving them an opportunity to be a productive person, because really there's nothing in jail that's going to give them a future except sitting around. So when they get out, we're there for them.
Yeah. I like the fact that you're giving them trust. Here's a tool. I trust you to do this particular task, because maybe they had just spent a year or 2, 3, 5 years, whatever, with zero trust whatsoever.
Right. And to really see this, there's a couple of videos up on YouTube, and all you got to do is go to Constructing Futures at YouTube, and we got video of what we're all about. And to see these guys talk about their experience, they can do it much better than I can sitting here trying to tell you about it.
That's a great cause. It's a great cause. Have you ever done any work? And I bring up, of course, because we have some friends in St. Louis as well, and up on the hill in the Italian neighborhood, right? You got to have a nice round of applause for them. Yes.
And so if anybody wants to help us out, we're willing to take money. Obviously, I'm not here to ask for money, but if you want to donate to Constructing Futures, please we can always use it.
That's great stuff. Yeah. So maybe, who knows, maybe there's a partnership in there somewhere. I don't know, but it just so happens that people that do good things, Andy, they typically run together, right? You'll see one parlay with another. I mean, it's just like hitting is contagious, right? So they find a weakness in the pitcher, right? The next guy gets a hit. The next guy gets a hit. Before you know it, like you're the odd man out. It's like you better get a hit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's this particular organization's going out for 10 years. We've only been a 501c for a couple of years. So, we're really in our infancy. I can see this being a generational thing. So hopefully I'll be around long enough to help build it up and pass it on to somebody else. Because here's another thing. When they make it through, they don't go back to jail. They're not committing crimes. They're helping the community. The recidivism rate goes up 80% if they stick around. I mean, think about that. That is a great rehab program in itself.
Right. They have a sense of purpose. And if you give them a sense of purpose and some real value, I think that's where the real reward comes in. Whereas when they're sitting behind bars, they're just sitting. It's like, all right, you're in timeout for many years, but you're not being taught any skills, which in that time, that could be productive time to, I'm not saying that they don't have programs like that. I don't know. I've never been to jail. I mean, thank God for that. Right. I mean, but what I'm trying to say,
it's totally different. It's totally different in jail when you got no place to go. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So freedom and responsibility is there for the first time for them. And the guys that want to make it, they make it.
Yeah. And that's the whole thing. When you think about rehabilitating people, putting them back into the economy, I mean, I'm essentially an economist and I see the value of a strong workforce, but I also see that the building blocks of an economy is education. So if you're educating these young men and just these men and these people, period, if you're educating these people in skills that they didn't have, you're actually producing a marketable labor force, right? A skilled labor force, which drives the value, drives the discretionary spending, the disposable income. Everybody ends up winning when you teach people something.
Absolutely. If they get through our program, we go to an employer and they say, hey, you want this guy. This guy has proven to us over the last year. He's one of our best workers. He shows up on time. He does his work. He's willing to learn. What more do you want from an employee?
Right. And I like the fact that they come out with confidence knowing that, hey, Andy's got a pretty good program in constructing futures STL.org. That is, make sure you check that out, folks. But he's got this really cool program where, hey, guess what? He's going to help some people. So maybe somebody that you've worked with already still have friends that are possibly getting out or they're on their way out. And this way they have a potential path to learn some skills and be productive. And that's the thing that I like the most.
Yep. And for a lot of these guys, they're trusting somebody for the first time in their lives. And if they can trust us, what they can say to their buddies or say to the community, hey, it was this program for the first time I was willing to trust somebody and move forward.
Right. And here's an ex-big leaguer, a bona fide star. It is what it is, right? A bona fide star that has extended to us. If you're, of course, behind bars, right? You're extending to us saying, I want to help you. Never mind all the baseball, whatever. The one thing I'm going to bring to you right now, though, is I'm going to bring you some team leadership. And that's where I'm going here in the last few minutes of this segment. I want you to take 1 minute and talk about the leadership value it brings to all of those people you're helping.
Well, again, a lot of these guys, look at the fact is that, 9 out of 10 guys in jail came from single family homes. I mean, that's really the issue. They've never had a role model. They've never seen what it's like to live in society in a proper way. And so they're in an environment where, we're not handing, this is no handout. We keep them, if you don't show up on time, we take money out of your check. If you don't show up for work next day, you don't get paid. So we're, for the first time, real love is tough love, and we're keeping them accountable. And I think it's, for some guys, it's a slower process than others. But when they learn that we really do love them because we're keeping them accountable, and accountability is love.
Absolutely. All right, listen, hey, Andy, we've got a couple minutes left here in the segment.
Sure.
Tell everybody what's going on off the field catch everybody up, tell everybody how to follow you as well.
Well, it's really hard to follow me because I am not on Twitter. I am not on Facebook. I am not on Instagram. Because of some of the things I've said in the past, it wouldn't be advantageous for me to be on any of those social programs, the social networks, because my wife says, So she's the only one that's on. And so it's kind of hard for me. The only way you can really follow me today is to know me personally, do interviews like this, and do a little investigating about constructing futures at YouTube. You'll see me on there and see what's going on in my life there.
Yeah, that's good stuff. I think you and I probably share a few of the opinions that we probably
sure we do.
Well, we probably would be ostracized, by the powers that be. Call them what you will. But
if I did have a Twitter account, it would have been canceled by now anyway. So I don't really worry about it.
and I'm gonna say this in pure defense of a guy that absolutely belongs in the hall. That's Curt Schilling, and I think Curt Schilling has been given the absolute wrong treatment. And you take a guy that absolutely belongs in the hall and you say, no, we're not going to let you in because of your political beliefs. But unfortunately, They let other guys in that should be in the Hall of Good and not the Hall of Fame.
You're right. Yeah, he's an ex-teammate of mine. I know Curt very well. I know him as a good teammate. And you're right about that. It's an unfortunate place where we are in the country. Hopefully it's going to turn around.
That's all we could do is cross our fingers and cross our toes and cross our eyes, Andy. But final thoughts on the position of tack baseballs. What are your final thoughts? Take 30 seconds on that.
I think it's very childish thinking in my opinion. I don't know why the commissioner would even explore that. He's taken away so many great traditions of the game. I love the fact that they're breaking up the double play at second base is no longer there. You're sticking a guy at second base. It's part of our culture. It's sort of like a culture. We're giving away stuff we don't deserve. Nobody deserves to be at second base at the beginning of an inning when you haven't been at the plate. So a lot of the things that are going on in baseball is really just a reflection of what's going on in our culture. And baseball has always been a reflection of our culture. And so some of the things that's going on in baseball, I don't like. And the tack baseball should never be part of baseball.
100% agree. Andy, thank you so much for joining us today here on The Circus. Of course, we're going to want you back because we do, and we kind of align in the way we're thinking about things. Maybe we'll go a different direction on the next one.
I would love that.
All right. Well, Andy Van Slyke, 3-time All-Star, 5-time Gold Glover, 2-time Silver Slugger, and a partridge in a pear tree. He's basically done it all, folks. All right. And we'll see you next time right here on your favorite station. Until then, so long, everyone.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UpperCutChops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at UpperCutChops.com.